After 20 plus years of being a fitness professional, there's one thing I've learned about the hormones and the metabolism of people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and that is this: if you don't understand how to incorporate some type of time-restricted feeding or intermittent fasting the right way, you'll never get control of your emotional eating, your appetite, or your dietary habits. However, if you learn how to incorporate this strategy into your lifestyle using the strategies I'm going to share with you behind me here on the whiteboard, all of this changes and you can lose fat faster than ever. So, let's do this. Hey everybody, Coach Sean, the Rip Grandpa. And way back in 1998 when I started my career by placing first runner-up grand champion in the world-renowned Body for Life contest, you can see here I transformed my body in 90 days by exercising rigorously, obviously, and eating 6 to 7 meals every single day. Now, you want to talk about a pain in the butt? Now, fast forward. When I turned 40 years old, just over a decade ago, I discovered time-restricted feeding and intermittent fasting, and I discovered how much easier it is. Now, the problem with intermittent fasting is most people don't understand how to do it the right way. And if you don't, you can experience metabolic slowdown and a hormonal decline. And even a more recent study on intermittent fasting showed how people who use this strategy lost muscle. So inside this video, let's talk about how to do it the right way, how to prevent metabolic slowdown, hormonal decline, and muscle loss. So there are several different types of intermittent fasting strategies that you can incorporate into your lifestyle, and I'll share them briefly inside this video, but I'm going to focus on what I think is the most sustainable, realistic, and effective method, and that is the 16-hour fast with an 8-hour feeding window. I've done this for the last decade. It is the backbone of my over 40 hormone reset diet. The link is in the description for that. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. It's allowed me to really maintain about 8 to 12% body fat for the last 10 years straight. Now, the reason I like this method so well, and I only do it Monday through Friday, and I take the weekends off because I'm a grandpa, I got 10 grandkids, and on the weekends, I want to be social with my children and my grandchildren. And that 5 days during the week, it's much easier to stick to that type of schedule because we're more structured, we're working on a daily basis, and we have more of a set schedule. And that 16-hour fasting window is long enough to get all the anti-aging and hormonal benefits that I'll talk about in just a second. And the 8-hour window is long enough to ensure that you get all the macronutrients that you need. You see, they did a study last year where people who did the 16-8 method lost muscle. They had amazing internal health. Their organs, their mental health, their weight loss, all beat the control group big time. However, they lost muscle. Well, when I looked at the study, it was very obvious why. I've done this for 10 years and I haven't lost muscle. It's because their protein intake wasn't high enough and they weren't resistance or strength training 3 or 4 times per week. So simply by ensuring your protein intake is high enough and your resistance or strength training 3 or 4 times per week, you'll never lose muscle when you're fasting. So now let's talk about the actual windows and how you can ease your way into this, the different types, and then of course we'll dive into the anti-aging and hormonal benefits. So before we dive into how to ease into fasting, the different windows, the different types of fasting that you could potentially use, and the cons of fasting and how to overcome those cons, let's talk about why. Why in the world would you even want to fast for 16 hours or longer, 5 days per week or more? Why? Well, research shows that the anti-aging and hormonal benefits are profound. Now, we've been brainwashed to believe for years and years and years that if you eat every 3 or 4 hours, or if you skip breakfast, that you're going to lose muscle, your metabolism is going to slow down, you're not going to have any energy because there's no food in you, and you're going to go catabolic. Now, research shows the exact opposite is true. That after 12 hours of fasting, you start reducing internal inflammation. You start increasing something called autophagy. This is when your body's cells start going around and cleaning up debris inside your body. So it's your body's natural cleansing process, which increases white blood cells, amazing for your health and longevity. And of course, all of this improves your heart, brain health, and your nervous system health. Now, during the fasted window, your mental clarity will increase dramatically. And the reason why is hormonal. You see, after 12 hours, your body's SNS, your sympathetic nervous system, starts increasing. This is known as your body's fight or flight response. Now, when your SNS is elevated, your adrenal glands release hormones called catecholamines. The two primary ones are norepinephrine and adrenaline. Now, both of these hormones actually release fatty acids from stored fat cells into the bloodstream, where you can use them as fuel during the fasted window. And then after 12 hours, your growth hormone starts increasing. In fact, if you use an eat, stop, eat method that I'll share here in just a second, where you fast for 24 hours, research shows your growth hormone can increase by up to 1,200%. We know that this is the anti-aging fountain of youth hormone. And then, of course, you start getting hormonal entrainment with ghrelin. You see, during the fasted window when you first start, you're going to start getting these hunger pangs. And I just recommend that you drink lots of water and they'll typically go away. But that is a ghrelin pulse. Now, instead of having a negative association with that, you should have a positive association that when you get hungry, understanding that that ghrelin pulse is a precursor that your body is releasing more growth hormone. So if you have that positive association, you can push through that hunger, drink some water, and then you'll get control of ghrelin after about a week. You won't even get those hunger pangs anymore because you're going to get hormonal entrainment, and your ghrelin pulses won't even start until around the 16-hour mark of your fast. And of course, because you are not eating, insulin is very, very stable during the fasted window. This increases your blood sugar hormone called glucagon. It helps you use fatty acids as fuel during the fasted window, aka burn more fat. And then of course, this helps you get control of blood sugar so you can stop things like insulin resistance. Now, all these anti-aging and hormonal benefits give you overall health through several different strategies. Number one, you will eliminate your emotional attachment to eating every couple hours. You'll eliminate your hunger and cravings. You'll get the hormonal entrainment that I talked about with ghrelin and these other hormones. You'll increase your fat loss. In the fasting window, most people think metabolic rate slows down. Research shows the exact opposite is true, that your metabolism will actually increase during the fasted window because of your SNS, your fight or flight response. And then of course, this comes down to simplicity. Now you don't have to worry about eating during that entire 16-hour window, or eating every 3 or 4 hours, or prepping up all that food. Instead, you're eating like 3 meals a day. Sometimes I only eat 2. As long as I hit my macronutrients, I can eat 2 huge meals. Now typically, I'll eat 3 medium-sized meals with like a protein shake, but how much easier is that than eating 5 or 6 meals per day? So now you understand all these benefits and why you should fast. Let's talk about the different types and how to ease into it if you're new to this strategy. Okay, so up here on the whiteboard, I have a timeline for the 16-8 methodology. My favorite time to end my fast is a 9 p.m. meal. I have a 40-gram protein shake, or I have a 40-gram protein meal. Typically, it would be like cottage cheese or Greek yogurt with some protein powder in it, and then I might put a little protein cereal in there as well. Now, I break my fast the next day at 1 p.m. Now, you could do this as early as 6 p.m., have your last meal, and then the next day you just break your fast at 10 a.m. And you can see these timelines here. You could eat as late as 10 or even 11 p.m. if you wanted to. Then you break your fast at 2 or 3 p.m. the next day. Now, if you're new to this, I recommend just 12 to 14 hours of fasting for the first 5 days. Start getting your ghrelin trained. Start getting that hormonal entrainment in place that I talked about over here for that first week. And then once you experiment with 12 to 14 hours for a week, that next Monday, go ahead and dive in and start doing 16 hours. Now, if you want to get serious, we're talking intermittent fasting for serious weight loss. This is what I do when I get ready for a photo shoot or I have a deadline in place, is I extend this thing up to 18 to 20 hours, about 3 days per week. Now, the key and the secret to making this work is your feeding window is a lot shorter. Instead of 8 hours, now you're only talking about 4 to 6 hours. So it's super important that you get the protein, carbs, and fats that your body needs. It's okay to still stay in a deficit because that's how you're going to lose fat, but you must make sure you're getting your adequate protein, carbs, and fats so that you don't lose muscle and you don't start damaging your hormones. More is not necessarily better, but this is a way to get really serious, because the more you extend beyond that 16-hour mark, the more anti-aging and hormonal benefits that you're going to receive. And this works really well if you're at a plateau and you can't seem to get rid of that last little bit of stubborn fat. If you extend this window out 18 to 20 hours, 2 or 3 times per week, that's where the magic starts happening. Now let's talk about if you have to take medication maybe in the morning, so you have to eat, or if you have some type of blood sugar issue where you have to eat in the morning, and the different types of strategies you can use. What if you don't want to fast every day? What if you just want to fast a couple times per week? Let's talk about how that works. Okay, so let's talk about the different types of fasting strategies if you don't want to fast every day, or maybe you need to take medication when you wake up, or you have some type of blood sugar issue. So the first method I have here is Warrior. I have a method called Pulsing. I have a method called Eat, Stop, Eat, and the 5-2. Now, all these can and do work, and it's just a matter of personal preference. Now, the first method, called the Warrior Diet, works best for people who have to take medication or have to eat because of blood sugar issues. A book called The Warrior Diet by Ori Hofmeckler, I think it was. Been around for years. And I use this method when I get really, really lean and I know that I really don't have a lot of fat to burn anymore. And you simply wake up and you have a protein and fat containing meal. So high protein, high fat, low carb meal. This is gonna keep your body in fat burning mode, give you food in your stomach to prevent any blood sugar issues that you might have, or allow you to take medication that you need to take. But at the same time, you're not gonna get a blood sugar spike and crash from the carbohydrate. So avoid the carbs in this particular meal. The second method here is called pulsing. This is very popular with bodybuilders. I think it's not necessary, but basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna have 10 grams of amino acids or a protein shake about every 3 hours during the fast. So it's really truly not a fast, but if you're pulsing amino acids, for example, you're really not getting that many calories, so you can get the benefits of a calorie deficit. I also think this would work really well for somebody who's trying to gain muscle, because you're giving your body and your muscles the extra protein that it needs throughout the fast without really spiking insulin really high. This method is called Eat, Stop, Eat. My buddy Brad Pilon back in 2008 came up with this 24-hour fast. And you do it once or twice per week, and that's it. So you fast for 24 hours. This is where you're really going to get a lot of the anti-aging and hormonal benefits. If you're doing this 2 days a week and you're not eating for 48 hours, you're also probably going to experience serious weight loss. Again, just making sure you get your macros on the other days of the week. And then the last method is called the 5-2 method, which gained in popularity over the last couple of years. So this is 5 days where you go really low calories, and then 2 days of eating at maintenance, which would probably be Monday through Friday, low calorie, Saturday and Sunday, eating at maintenance. Never tried this, never heard a lot of results about it, just saw it buzzing around the internet like a mosquito and thought I'd mention it. If you wanted to use this method, you could. I don't really think you're gonna get hormonal entrainment from this or the benefits of it, because it's really not fasting. You're just going like an 800 calorie day, Monday through Friday. So it's really just a crash diet during the week. However, because you're going low calorie Monday through Friday, you will get some of these benefits because your sympathetic nervous system will elevate slightly. Now, what about the cons of fasting? We talked about all these amazing benefits, right? And how to do it. Well, the cons are hunger. And we talked about hormonal entrainment and how to get control of ghrelin for controlling your hunger levels. But really the solution is just to drink lots of water. If you drink lots of water during your fasted window, you're gonna eliminate the hunger pangs. In fact, I've gotten hunger pangs during the fasted window several times over the last couple weeks, and every single time I look at my water and I haven't drank my water today. And I literally, if I guzzle 12 to 16 ounces, all the hunger is gone. You can also have black coffee and tea during the fasted window. Now, if you wanna have things like stevia to sweeten it, that is fine. If you want creamer in there, that is fine. I'm just gonna let you know that if you put creamer in your black coffee or your tea, you're gonna start hindering some of these hormonal and anti-aging benefits a little bit, because you're giving your body food and you're getting a slight insulin spike. Remember, in the presence of even the smallest amounts of insulin, you can slow down fat loss. So it's okay to have calorie-free beverages. Just be consciously aware that if you use things like cream or small sweeteners that might have small amounts of calories in them, that you're gonna raise insulin slightly and negate some of these benefits I talked about. Also, we talked about muscle loss earlier, and that study that showed people who fasted too long or used the 16-8 method, 7 days per week they were doing it, lost muscle. Well, again, it goes back to making sure your protein intake is high enough, making sure your resistance or strength training 3 or 4 times per week, and then lastly, is mineral deficiencies. During the fasted window, you can become very depleted. And what I recommend is that during the fasted window, you have a drink that contains a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, half of a fresh squeezed lemon, and some Himalayan rock salt or sea salt. And then, of course, it's always good to get some type of electrolyte. So if you have some type of electrolyte drink that you can drink during your fast that doesn't have calories in it, that's only gonna help you and be more beneficial. Now, last thing before I close out, one of the most powerful things you can do for serious weight loss when you're intermittent fasting is exercise at a high intensity. Now, I don't have it up here on the whiteboard, but I share exactly how this works inside my over 40 hormone reset diet. Again, the link is in the description below. And that because you're going into the workout during a fasted window, all this stuff can be enhanced greatly. You just have to make sure that you're using the right type of exercise for your current hormonal condition. And I share exactly the strategy you need to use inside my guide below, the Over 40 Hormone Reset Diet. And then if you want to understand how to use fasting in conjunction with exercise to actually target a stubborn body part, to legitimately target like lower belly fat or the fat on your arms or the fat on your backside, I put a link to a video up here about how to target hanging lower belly fat, but it applies to any stubborn body part. So check it out. Thanks for watching, and God bless.